Oh, yeah. Welcome out, y'all. This is the Remix Morning Show. Right here on Black Liberation Media. In case you didn't know, I go by the name of the Ear Doctor. And yes, it's time for that boom bap breakfast. And we got guests. Who do we have? Well, not really guests, but we got the host with the most, coming straight from the East Coast, and started off with no other than Burn It Down, Kim Brown and Jackie Luman.
Hey, Doctor, what's the track? Is that Boot Camp Click? Who is that?
That is Smith & Wesson. Let's get it on.
Yes.
All day. That's what I was saying. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I have not had my proper dosage of caffeine. Let me try this again.
You said that. Look, I don't fully loaded every. I don't.
I'm not. I'm not.
Oh man, y'all look spectacular today. Radiant.
Thank you.
Yes,
you looking out. You're looking awful bright yourself. Look at you.
I know this light. I got it too. I was doing some work last night. But yeah, I gotta fix the light.
What you shooting something new for OF? On your OF page, you had to make sure the lighting was right.
Is there a DJ? Is there a genre for DJs in OnlyFans? Like y'all behind the ones and twos, kind of
with a sock on.
I think it's called Twitch.
No, with a sock on, like Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers. You got those sock on it, and then spin. Somebody will pay for that, Naka. I don't know.
Yeah.
My OnlyFans page would be Only Two Fans. That's what it would be called. Only Two Fans. My kids.
Oh God.
Maybe.
We don't want your kids.
We don't want the kids on your OnlyFans page, Naka. Come on.
You're right.
That's not what we need.
I'm still
That's
trying
not
to
what
wake
they
up.
need.
Oh my goodness. Yo, so I woke up at like 4:30 this morning. Had a crazy dream. And I couldn't get back to sleep, so I've been up since 4:30.
What'd you dream about? What woke you up?
I murked 2 people.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I murked 2 people, and then I was back in Jersey, and I ran to my old house, and I was trying to get in, but it was some new people living there, and I was trying to get in touch with my mom and my pops. So I called my sister, and she was like, they moved. And she was giving me bad directions, and then I woke up.
Damn.
So you killed 2 people in your dream.
Yeah.
And then your parents found out, and then they basically moved away.
There's a lot to unpack.
See how you unpack it, yeah.
I mean,
but, I don't know. So my brother went to jail for 21 years for my adopted brother for killing 2 people. So then, yeah. So he's out.
So you didn't give us context for this dream, and I made a whole joke about it. No, please.
Hey, listen, life is you gotta crack a smile. I'm here, so that's what it's all about. I'm still happy, but so it just went dark.
That was way too dark, even for me. There's a
lot going on there, Doctor. Because you know your parents transitioned a while ago, so it's wild that you're trying to call them and they move. Well, they moved to heaven long time ago.
Like, what else do you need? Like, leave us alone.
So the thing is, what I realized is I got an altar and everything. I practice African spirituality and stuff. So I got my altar and everything, but I haven't been bringing any, like they say, sweets. I haven't been bringing them what they want, like cigarettes and candies and stuff like that. So I haven't been acknowledging them enough. So I think they was just like, yo, you forgetting about me? Because one of my favorite movies is Coco, which is a cartoon movie. and it was like "Remember Me." That was the song. It was like you gotta say the name and remember your ancestors. So I think that's what the dream was about. All right, so how are y'all doing?
So do one of your parents maybe have a birthday coming up? I'm wondering.
Mom's July, pops is May 1st.
Oh,
What's
Mm-hmm.
coming up?
hmm.
Yeah, we
May
got
Day. Your father was a May Day baby.
Mayday.
Wow.
Yep, Taurus
That's
and
fabulous.
Solidarity
Cancer.
with solidarity with that.
Yeah.
I just you. I think it. I absolutely believe that our ancestors will reach out in dreams
Mm-hmm.
to let us know that they want us to know something. And
Yeah.
I do not interpret dreams. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like but
Mm-hmm.
I have an altar. I do my libations
Yeah.
and I know that when I have not given grandma them potato chips long enough,
Yeah.
she be like, ma'am,
Yeah. I gotta go get
uh
some Newports. I gotta go get some Newports. My mom drink gin. My dad drinks scotch. So I gotta
mhm,
and yeah, cigarettes and liquor. That's what they love.
mhm, mhm. Maybe they
Yeah.
just want you to be careful about who you're around. Maybe.
Mm.
Maybe that's, you know.
Who knows? But take heed. Everybody out there, if you got somebody in your past, say their name. That's all. All right, so back to positivity and happiness. What's been going on, Jackie?
It's all positive, air doctor.
It is. It's all
It is.
positivity and happy.
It is.
I mean, once I broke that traditional Christian indoctrination and believing, oh, ancestor worship is witchcraft. Yeah, I believe that mess too.
Yeah.
Once I got realized that that's stupid and ridiculous and foolish,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, all of this is this spirituality is very positive, even if
Mm-hmm.
like when you encounter it for the first time, it's like a little bit free. Well, okay, it's a lot freaky,
Mm-hmm.
but it that there is some serious benefit and like it does you good. It really does you good to have this connection with your ancestors, and so it's even with difficult things, it's still positive because I still go through that too.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
Abdus is always he's always got something to say, and I'm like, dude, I
it's
love
it,
you, but please.
it's
Just,
giving me power because I never
yeah.
worry. I never worry because I always get doors open and I'll be like, won't they do
Mm.
it? Won't they do it?
I don't know if I could say I never worry. I still, yeah, because I'm
Well, you got to
anxious.
walk with faith, right? Ain't that what they
I,
say?
listen, I don't subscribe to these platitudes as if just because you believe in something that you're not going to have difficult times and you're not going to struggle and you're not going to be afraid. No, you're gonna. It's okay to
What was that
feel,
word? Platitude?
experience, huh?
Platitude?
Platitude. Meaningless phrases, empty meaning stuff people say all the time that don't mean nothing. That's what it is. It's a nice, polite, empty phrase, and
Mm-hmm.
they're silly. It's just silly. It's
Mm-hmm.
silly to say that just because you believe in something that you all of a sudden stop having very basic human emotions that everybody has, that you have for a reason. There's a reason we experience fear. Fear helps us not get our behinds kicked a lot of times. You should be afraid of some things. So there's nothing wrong with a good, healthy dose of fear. The problem is when you become afraid of everything, when you
Mm-hmm.
become afraid of trying new things because you're so convinced that you will fail, when fear becomes a personal thing, like you are afraid of your own personal whatever and not just you're nervous about walking down the street at night by yourself. That's a fear you should have,
Yeah.
but it becomes a problem when your fear is internalized and it stops you from living your life.
So
That is the problem.
with
So
that said, be a warrior, not a worrier. And you know what I realize when I don't blaze, I have dreams at night. Kim, do you have that?
So I don't dream because I smoke. And when I don't smoke, I dream, and I'm not
That
interested in my dreams, so I
that's
continue smoking.
Ain't that's what it is. Like it shuts down your dreams. It's like
Good,
it's
shut
a
it down.
disconnect. Well,
I
maybe
don't
not
need
all the
niggas
way.
talking to me in my sleep. Leave me alone.
Is that true? Really? For both of y'all, when you smoke, you don't dream.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And then when you do smoke, you don't dream. But when you don't smoke, you do dream.
Yes.
Yeah.
I wonder if, because I do edibles, because I cannot smoke, but my insomnia is so bad that it is the only thing I can take every night to make sure I go to sleep. So and my doctors are they're like, yes, please take them because you need to go to sleep. And I have never paid attention, so I have to pay attention to this.
Yeah, you gonna notice. You gonna be like, wow, like it's crazy. I'd be having.
I need an informal, unscientific study poll among our remixers who indulge in any way. What is this? I need to hear from y'all. I'm very curious now.
Let us know. I know. Let us know.
Yeah, I'm just like, yo, that is
opposite. You would think that, you know, the psychotropic chemical inducement of the THC would actually create more stimulation, especially in the unconscious. And maybe it does unconsciously, but I don't remember dreams when I'm stoned. And I've been smoking weed for a very long time. And I noticed that when I first started smoking weed back when I was 18, that I stopped dreaming because of weed. But I wasn't dreaming about shit no way. So fuck it. all my dreams was not coming true. So let me not. Who cares if he was dreaming?
Oh man, see,
it's interesting. Yeah. I am legit fascinated now. I'm not gonna be able to let this go.
I've done a scientific study. I've done it for years. I've been like, when I don't, I dream. It's crazy. Well, let's get out of our dream state and welcome y'all to remixes out on this beautiful Wednesday morning. Wednesday. To look out the window.
What's going on, doctor?
Is there somebody walking by your joint with a sign? Wednesday.
I need one. And at the bottom of the screen, it shows me the date, but what do I know? But anyway, let's go ahead and take our first break, and then we can get into some news. We got a guest coming around 9-ish or something. So let's do that in a few seconds right here. Let me get the And what
morning
we'll do
remixers. Woo! I'm gonna go grab a cup of coffee.
Okay, and I'll start it off with a mental health break. Because I need one right now.
Isn't
you ain't vibing into this, man? What are you doing? Let me take you back. Remix on the remix.
Back in the day when things were cool. Hey, all we needed was pop, 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 pop.
On the remix, let me take you to a time and place. Let me take you back to 1996 with Helter Skelter off that album Nocturnal. Name of that song is La Flor, Le Fleu Escasnosca. Mixed with a little bit of 2003. Erykah Badu off that Worldwide Underground. The name of that song is Back in the Day. Yes. Now, what you can do is you can actually hear this mix on the new album that I just dropped. in Bandcamp called Organic Blends. So if you want to go get that blend on there that y'all been asking for, go get it. I'll put the link in the chat room and all that. Make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen, you can go to blkliberationmedia.org and donate. We are demonetized, therefore we need your support, and we appreciate it very much. With that said, let's get back to the Remix Morning Crew. You know how we do.
That.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes,
Thank you.
that was lovely and perfect, and just the right blend of boom bap for the morning and the smooth, nice bass underneath. Just
Okay.
very good.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
Jackie. And Jackie, I hope you enjoyed it. I sent you a mix. I sent all my remix crew mixes, but I just put that in the links, the link in the so y'all go cop that. Y'all been asking for it, so I did it.
Wait, is that what that was?
Yeah, I know. Y'all never check y'all emails. Yeah.
Because I looked at it, I'm like, what? I'm not clicking that.
Well, cheerio.
But I will now that I know what it is.
Wow. All y'all
paranoid spam, man, all the spam and the what do you the phishing emails and the I'm like, why is your doctor sending me a personal email? Nope.
Well, listen, 4 people done came and copped it already, so I appreciate
Okay.
y'all.
All right.
That's rocking out
In the
with me.
streets, let's go.
Hey, double wood.
Oh, hey y'all, I've been scoping out the chat, and it's somebody's birthday.
Really?
Yeah.
Who would that be?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Zenzabel's birthday. I done told everybody her birthday was the other day, and it's today.
See, and I don't wish this lady happy belated birthday last night on my show. Senzi, happy birthday, baby. No wonder Zenzabel Aries. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Look, she
she's
said, it's my birthday. Where my free copy, ear doctor?
That's right. Doctor, you better send this lady her music.
Oh, we just got another person went and copped that album. Thank you very much.
Please support Ear Doctor, please, because I wasn't kidding. That mix is nice. It's nice, and as much grief as we like to give Ear Doctor, he believe me when I tell you, he gives as much as he gets. But we recognize and respect that he is the ear doctor for a reason. He is stellar at what he does.
Did you want to say pause?
Can I tell a story? I don't think nobody will be offended. I don't think so.
Oh,
so
boy.
last year the channel was going through transitions.
Right. Is that what we call it?
There's some shit going on.
A lot.
So we're trying to come up with this new Black Liberation Media coup. The kids were trying to come up with the definition of unity. This nigga ear doctor. They were like, we need to review the definition of unity on the Zoom call. Here come this nigga ear doctor. Oh, god damn it, we got to again. And here come Kamal. Hey, ear doctor, would you mind muting yourself? Can you
nice and polite?
Can you stop shitting on the meeting, please, ear doctor? This nigga Naka is amazing.
I like to get to business. I was just like, unity.
But you know doggone well, that's what we were all thinking.
Exactly. I just say what everybody thinks, and they scared to say it because they don't want to be like, you know what, maybe I'm wrong. I don't care.
Air Doctor doesn't mind being the enemy of unity out here. He will stand against it all by himself.
Wait a minute. I like unity. I'm just like, now we trying to handle a whole name change, what are we talking about here? But big up to all the people behind the scenes. You know, y'all teaching me about organizations and organizing and stuff like that, and you got to have some type of unity and blah, blah, blah. But Yeah. Thank you. I think I'm done.
Oh, dokie.
That was perfect. That was that joke was
I mean, who loudly guffaws in the face of unity? You know what I'm saying? This nigga was like, "Oh, fuck you."
like, oh damn it. We were all like,
And here come executive director Kamal. Here, doctor, would you mind muting your Kamal is such a everybody's boss. He's a good boss though, but he's still a boss.
I can't breathe.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, I hope y'all got a good little chuckle. Ear doctor, step us into the news, good bro.
Oh, Lord.
Indeed.
Mhm.
Two-stepping in the name of unity. Good morning, everybody. It's the Remix Morning Show, an official Women's Wednesdays. Las Miércoles de las Mujeres. That's terrible Spanish. My bad. Anyway, Jacqueline Lukman in the building, Kim Brown in the building, Ear Doctor in the building, remixers in the chat. Good morning, boys and girls, and G and B's in the building. We appreciate you guys coming through and kicking it with us on this good Wednesday. We've got a good one in store for you today. Jacqueline tells us that Ajumu will be joining us in the 9 o'clock hour.
Yes.
So be sure to stay tuned, stick around for that. But Jackie, is there anywhere in particular you would like to start off on this Women's Wednesdays news roundup?
Yeah, this is of course, all of the chaos out of the Trump administration has been it really has been kind of interesting to watch. This first story, you know how they're going after the US Postal Service now. And of course, the Postal Service is a service. It is not ever supposed to turn a profit. That their job is to deliver the mail. That's it. There should not be any profit margin in delivering it, but of course they're trying to privatize it. So now the U.S. Postal Service chief DeJoy, he steps down. Excuse me. Let's see. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. Sorry, I keep forgetting to do that. And let me close.
Which I thought was interesting that he stepped down, because I'm like, how come Joe Biden didn't replace this nigga? You know what I'm saying? But okay.
That's
He's hanging around.
how come Joe Biden didn't is the whole that is the question of the universe, I think. But so DeLay, who led efforts to restructure the money-losing U.S. Postal Service, and see, this is why U.S. media is trash. The money losing, it's a service. It's not supposed to make money. It was never the Postal Service was not created to make money, turn a profit at all. But here you've got corporate media saying that the U.S. Postal Service is a money losing service. Get that. So he has resigned immediately. Republican President Donald Trump, who in February called the agency a tremendous loser for this country, said he was considering merging the Postal Service with the Commerce Department, a move Democrats said would violate federal law. Now, it would, because, again, we talked about how federal agencies that are created by Congress cannot be changed or eliminated without a move from Congress to do those things. But, rules and laws and that kind of, they don't pay any attention. They don't care about that stuff. He is going to try to do it. A judge is going to rule against it. He's going to ignore the judge. And then we're going to be right where we are now and wondering, okay, who is actually going to enforce the law? Because nobody seems to have a problem enforcing the law when we jaywalk. You understand? And here this man is like literally pooping on the so-called Constitution, and ain't nobody doing nothing to info. Okay, so yes, Democrats said that move would violate federal law, but they're not going to do anything about that either. Like they're not doing anything about what's going on. DeJoy said earlier this month that he had asked the government efficiency team led by Elon Musk for assistance with a number of issues and signed an agreement on reform assistance.
What the fuck does that even mean?
It
Who
means
An
that
agreement with who? With Elon?
yes,
With Doge?
yes. The person that led the Postal Service under the Biden administration reached out to Doge and Elon Musk and said, please help us turn the U.S. Postal Service into a profit-making entity. And I don't know why he's stepping down. So let's see. In February, DeJoy said he asked the Postal Service governing board to identify his successor, but had given no indication that he planned to step down abruptly. Musk said this month he thought USPS should be privatized because that is what they're trying to do. Much work remains that is necessary to sustain our positive trajectory, DeJoy said in a statement, adding that Monday was his last day on the job and that Deputy Postmaster General Doug Tolino will head the agency until the Postal Board names a permanent successor. They have hired a search firm, he added. Democratic lawmakers for years called for DeJoy to be fired, but agreed to give USPS $50 billion in financial relief in 2022. In May, DeJoy agreed to plan further consolidation of USPS processing network after senators raised concerns about the impact on mail deliveries. DeJoy has led an effort to dramatically restructure USPS over the last 5 years, including cutting forecast cumulative losses over a decade to $80 billion from $160 billion, even as mail volumes fell to the lowest level since 1968. The outgoing postal chief has used tactics similar to Musk-led Department of Government Efficiency team, including shrinking the workforce and canceling or renegotiating contracts. So this guy was never in this position to protect the Postal Service, to keep it from being privatized. He was trying before this Trump administration. He was trying to move the Postal Service toward privatization before the Trump administration ever existed. This was why the Democrats wanted him fired, but didn't do anything to actually do it, but gave him more money. Right? So this man stepping down from the Postal Service remember, the article said he signed an agreement with Doge. So he is literally just stepping out of the way to let them do whatever it is that they want to do with the USPS. Yes, all of it is going to be illegal, but they're going to do it anyway. And so your mail is fitting to be gone. I think your mail is fitting to be delivered for a premium by Amazon.
Well, I guess the mail and Social Security are going to go away at the same time. People don't have to worry about their Social Security checks coming in the mail because won't be no mail to bring them. Won't be no Social Security to bring.
Right. Yep. So I'm gonna have to get back in shape so I can get on that pole when these disability payments stop.
No, I'm gonna get a disguise. I think it's time to start. We have to be Robin, Jackie. We're gonna have to go. We're gonna go down 16th Street. We're going to go around Calorama. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to be sticking niggas up for their French bulldogs. They have high resale value out here. So get ready. It's going to be two 5-footers out here in them streets.
Yep. Creeping up on niggas on K Street.
With the clacks. To your point,
Jackie. Black on K Street. With
DeJoy, and I don't know what DeJoy's background is, because he's been in this position now almost 10 damn years, right? Because Trump appointed him the first time around, and he was able to remain during Biden's entire administration, which again, when you contrast the way that Republicans at large govern, but Trump in particular, they just govern. Trump governs the way he wants to. Democrats govern the way they think they should, in order to adhere to the checks and balances and the norms and the protocols and the way that it's always been. But when Republicans get into office, they are breaking things, right? They don't wait for permission. They not checking with the lawyers. They not checking with legal. They just do the shit. And to your and the GOP has been trying to eliminate the post office. I'm thinking since W, maybe even since before then. I remember George W. Bush pretty much had a target on the post office and using the same kind of rhetoric. It's not profitable. It's operating at a loss. It's the government. It's a fucking agency. Okay, if we want to talk about government agencies operating at a loss, can we reassess the Pentagon? Can we check out the DOD? Can we check out any myriad of different government agencies that, of course, are not operating likely within a quote unquote budget? But the post office performs an essential service, and even in spite of the alternatives of delivery services out there, Amazon, FedEx, UPS. What the post office does is a lot of things, but most importantly, it gives Black people jobs. It gives Black people federal jobs, and most mail carriers around the country, especially in Black areas, are indeed themselves Black. And people have been able to mail carry themselves into the middle class, or into some stability, economic stability. So this seems like yet another attempt to jab at that economic security that Black folks who work for the federal government have enjoyed for some decades.
And even though as usual, we are 14% of the population, but in pretty much every job category, blue collar level kind of jobs, we are overrepresented, but we don't make up the majority. Most mail carriers are white in this country. 70% of them are white, but 20% of around 19% of mail carriers are Black. So we are overrepresented in the workforce compared to our population, but most of the mail carriers are white. So it is going to be most of them who are going to be it. Yeah, it's going to be us. But it's interesting because I'm watching like ICE. I'm watching these ICE raids happen around the country, and they're not happening here in DC. And I wonder why that is.
You mean in DC proper or in the area?
In DC proper.
Okay.
No, they are not. I understand they are happening. I am in Southeast DC. The ICE is not driving around DC right now. I'm not saying they never will. I'm saying it is not happening in DC right now. So that is very interesting. But this whole thing is this situation with the post office. I remember when Biden came into office and DeJoy was in, and DeJoy was trying to privatize. He started all of this mess under Trump. And there was a big outcry under Trump's first administration about the post office. Then Biden comes in and he does not get rid of DeJoy, who was, you are right, appointed by Trump. So again, I know people kind of get annoyed when I bring up how the Democrats are just crap. No matter what you think about what's going on right now, please understand that Democrats had a hand in facilitating this. This is a direct example of that. Joe Biden should have replaced DeJoy when he came into office. DeJoy was doing this privatization of the U.S. Postal Service crap under Trump. Biden kept him. Why? Because the Democrats want the Postal Service privatized too. They're just nicer about it. They don't want to do it in a way that they don't want to do it in a rip the band off kind of way. They want to do it in a let's see how we can lie and spin this to get people to accept it kind of way. Right. So it's hard to look at these things that are going on in the Trump administration now and not, go back and say, well, you do know this is not new. Right? And this is just If anything was going to be done to protect the Postal Service from privatization, it needed to have been done under Biden, and it wasn't. So here we are.
So what gets accomplished if the post office, if the U.S. Postal Service is privatized? I mean, it's just a giveaway, multi-billion-dollar giveaway to corporate interests, to, you know, people that are floating donations to both political parties. Like, what's the upside? I mean, I'm sure there's no upside for the public, but how is it going to be spun to us? Because I'm not sold off simply the post office isn't profitable. I don't give a fuck if the post office is profitable. Like, again, who cares if it's fucking profitable? But how, what's the spin here, Jackie? What are they going to say? Oh, well, when we privatize the post office, you're going to get blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I don't even think they bother with lying about what we're going to get. They don't even bother doing that. They're just nicer about explaining why they none of it ever makes sense. They never tell us what the benefit to us is, because there never is a benefit to us. You know, they put their actions in words that make it seem like they didn't have a choice. They were pushed into a corner. They can't do anything else. It needs to no, but really what it is they want to make more money. They want their profits. And for Democrats in particular, the privatization of the Postal Service would eliminate a key argument among progressives about what the Postal Service could be used for to truly benefit a more economically just society. And that is things like a bank run by the US Postal Service, you know, banking services for unbanked people who are usually poor in this country. They don't want the Postal Service to be used for the common good or the public good. That this is what the Postal Service was created for, to deliver a public good, not to make a profit. Just like libraries. That's exactly why libraries were created, to provide a public good, not to make a profit. But look at what's happening to libraries. All of this stuff about, oh, we have to ban books about gays and trans and blacks. And no, that's really not it. They want to privatize the libraries too. That's just all of these so-called culture war attacks on groups of people, information about groups of people and all this kind of stuff. It's not really about what they say it is. It really is about their opening salvos into eliminating these services as they exist, as free and open to the public, and delegitimizing them in the eyes of the public, so that eventually they can be taken over and privatized. So if the people are pissed off about libraries having, you know, books about gays and blacks and all that, they won't care when libraries are closed. Do you see what and I know it sounds like, man, why would anybody go through that much trouble this is what they've been doing the whole time.
But it sounds like, in order, you know, privatization is simply another method of exclusion, right?
Yep,
because
right.
The federal, like a federal funded public library can't tell people, you know, oh, y'all can't come in, drag queens or whatever, because it's public library. You're supposed to let everybody in, but public, or rather private places, can exclude whoever they want, right? They don't have to allow certain groups or even certain individuals into their privately owned space. You know, you don't have any expectations or entitlement going into a corporate building that you're allowed to be there and no one can, you know, remove you from being there. But like libraries and museums and such, or at least the federally funded ones, no, you have a right to be there, and they shouldn't remove you. So the United Corporations of America is quickly descending upon us, because, you know, when you strip away government, all you're left with is all these businesses and these people operating like corporations, which even from conservatives, and I know they don't think it through or whatever, but it's so weird to me. I'm like, why do you all want shit to be like businesses? Have you ever worked at a business? Have you ever worked at a corporation? It's it's a version of hell, it's some bean counting, penny pinching, rule adherence, conduct, code of conduct, all this shit. It's like, why the fuck would you want anything to become like a corporation or ran like a corporation or a business? I don't
I
get it.
mean, because they're greedy. Because Republicans, today's Republicans, I think I think the most honest representation of what America is in this country. Democrats are the same, except they lie about who they are.
Mhm.
They pretend that they care about us, but they really don't when they do the same things that Republicans do. Republicans just come right out and tell you, look, we everything needs to make money. We want everything to make us money. We don't really care if it makes you money or not, but everything needs to make us money, because the more money we make, and they tell their little lie, well, they used to. They don't even lie about that anymore. You notice Republicans don't talk about trickle down economics anymore. You notice how they don't
Not
really say that
crazy.
much.
Not well, remember, because it went from trickle down economics under Reagan to we got to stimulate the job creators under Bush,
Right,
right? So I
right.
don't know what's it now evolved to.
It's nothing. It's nothing now. It's just like, you know what? We're not even gonna waste any time trying to
Mm.
lie to you and tell you that anything that we are doing is going to benefit you in any way. Nope. We are just going to privatize everything. We're going to shut everything down. We are going to steal your money, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Mm.
That I just what? I mean, because I don't, and I'm looking at, and I know it's been a few weeks, and I've been really, I've been taking things that people have said to me to heart, and they're like, Jackie, you got to have more compassion for these people. You have to not rush to judgment so much. Maybe you should stop cussing people out so much. Okay, all right, I'll back down. Okay, but now I'm looking at people who voted for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Directly impacted by the things he is doing that he said he wasn't going to do. And even if he said he was going to do certain things, he said it in a way that made people believe that he is going to only target certain people, the Negras and the Mexicans in certain things, in firing people, in cutting the federal government workforce. But now all these white people have gotten caught up in this. And all I can say to them is, I don't know why did you believe him? We told you he was a liar. He's a con artist. We told you this. And after the first time this man was in office, and the things that he attempted to do then were a little bit chaotic, and he comes back and you believe that he is going to do anything for you. I don't know what you want me to do. I don't know why do you think I should feel sorry for you when you believe the con man, and you believed him because you hate us so much? That's the thing that blows my mind. It's like, I think a lot of these people knew that this man was just lying through his teeth and was going to cause all kinds of chaos, but they were convinced that the chaos he was going to cause was only going to impact us. They did not think that there's no way for him to limit the kind of chaos that he couldn't exclude them. And then when they got caught up in the net, now they're upset, but they hate us so much that they refuse to listen to what we were telling them about him and what he wanted to do to them. So I don't know what you want me to do. What you want me to say, man?
Well, I mean,
get another job. Stop buying so much avocado toast. Stop having them babies out of wedlock. Live within your means. Stop buying designer bags. Stop buying designer shoes. What else they tell us? Where your daddy at? where your husband at? All them kids belong to that one man. Stop having them damn kids. Suck it up, just like the rest of us, like we've been doing.
They were content to dispense hurt or to vote in the direction that they believe that certain people would be hurt. They did not believe that they themselves would be ensnared in that hurt. And then here they are, hurt, hurt feelings, crying all over the social media on, the white folks that ain't never showed up at a protest. All of a sudden, got their signs together. Said, you've been over there comfortable at NIH. You ain't never had a protest sign. And here they are. And but listen, if that's what it takes to bring the folks out, again, I don't have a problem with people coming to the realization that the masses are being hurt, but they finally understand it through their own self-hurt, right? Through their own situation. And if that gives them a sliver of awakening to understand that they not only is this negatively impacting your situation, but look at how it impacts all of these other people too. If that helps them to come to that awakening, then that's great. Now it may be, albeit a bit too late, because we are just in the first several weeks of the Trump administration. It's going to be a long 4 years. I don't know. I don't even know if America's going to make it to 2026. I'm not even sure. Because it's going downhill in a hurry.
I am very like, how close are we to Silo? Have y'all seen Silo on Apple TV? It's a really good show, but it is very post-apocalyptic. But I'm like, how close are we to Silo now? Because I don't see this full term playing out. I don't know how, but I can't.
I'm not sure, because number one, Trump is not the picture of health. Let's start. Okay. Like Trump is not giving me vitality. He's not giving me healthy. He's not giving me high mental acuity. He's not giving me none of that. So, if he were to fall down and collapse today, I wouldn't be shocked, right?
It wouldn't be a surprise.
Also, the fact that he and this administration is intentionally pissing off veterans, the people who are mandated to be nice with the pistol. You understand? Like, even if you push a broom in the military, Jackie, they send you out to the range. Okay.
Going back to pushing that broom.
They said you gotta clear this certificate. You gotta be able to fire this gun well. Okay. So he's pissing off all of the people who are trained in firearms. I said, that is a brilliant strategy there, Mr. President. You keep that right on up. You keep that right on up. So I don't see Trump making it. And I don't know if is Trump not going to make it and America's not going to make it, or is America not going to make it and then Trump may live on? Who knows? I don't know.
It's up in the air at this point. This is like a cliffhanger on a bad dating show. I don't understand. Are we is America going to break up with its end its right wing relationship with Trump, or is no, that's this is an interesting time because I really feel like there's the only explaining we have to do now is to point out to people that they told you that this is what they were going to do a long time ago. That's why I did the show on the Powell memo last week on Darker Than Blue. If you look at these documents, like people are people are all just like, oh, Project 2025, but they've never heard of the Powell memo. And then they read the Powell memo and then then they realize Project 2025 is a continuation of something Republicans have been talking about for years, decades even. And we keep saying that and people don't believe us. And it's like Project 2025, honestly, seriously, is not new. It really is not. It is the rehashed every 4 years plan of conservatives. They rehash this thing. They have called it so many different things: the project for the new American century, the contract with America, the it was another one, one of those Republican kind of big blueprint kind of things. But if you go all the way back to the Powell memo from 1971, you see where corporations got together, where this one man, a private citizen who was a business owner, who was a business leader, but a private citizen wrote a memo to the Department of Commerce. I kept calling it Chamber of Commerce in my show. Sorry. It's the Department of Commerce. Wrote a letter to the Department of Commerce that is really the capitalist manifesto, telling the Department of Commerce to distribute this memo to all of the businesses around the country so they could get involved in politics to drive the conservative narrative in every aspect of this country, particularly education. Now, Powell focused on colleges, universities, grad schools, but what did Republicans do? They extended that to include high schools, elementary schools, public libraries, and that kind of. So these plans that people are just learning about in Project 2025, they've been out there. They've been told us what they're going to do. And we just haven't been paying attention. So
I think some folks did pay attention, but we don't and did not and still do not have a real opposition party here. And so much time, energy, effort has been wasted rallying around Democrats and trying to get them, to pull them leftward when they never wanted to go left, never wanted to be left, don't like to push for so-called left issues. And that has also accelerated how quickly the conservative agenda has been allowed to take hold, because there's just not enough, right? We just don't have enough to push back, or rather the amount that we have to push back, I guess maybe we're not organized to make a good resistance or a backstop against this rightward slide. Can't even call it a pull because it's sliding now, but I don't know. I'm tired. I'm ready to get out of here. Who's your Colombian connect, Jackie? How much they charge to smuggle me over the border?
You ain't even got to smuggle. You ain't even got to be smuggled. You just got to fill out the checkmate form and hop on a plane and get on. Because the way I was told yesterday, well, hold on before you decide on Colombia, because you haven't been to Nicaragua and Bluefields yet. So that's my next. This year, I got to get to Bluefields in Nicaragua to check it out, because I'm going somewhere. And I might split my time in between a couple of places, but I'm renting this house out to some college kids, to some grad students, and I'm getting the heck out of here. I can't, because I can't function. I can't function. First of all, I can't afford to retire here. That I cannot live. I can't afford to retire here. And second, I need some peace of mind to keep doing this work. And oof, I don't think I can't get that peace of mind trying to survive, keep my head above water and fight these people at the same time and stay on top of my physical health issues, and which I'm going to have to stay on top of for the rest of my life, and stay on top of my mental health. Oh no, I got to get out of here.
America
and I wish that for many of us, actually.
This is such a life-sucking place. It really is. Like, I feel as though America, capitalism, the white supremacist patriarchal structure that we live under, like, it literally sucks your life force. And I just think it's deeply unfair that we have to, I can't spend all my years here. I've said this before. I cannot spend all of my years in America. That's wrong. I don't think Jesus wants that for me to be.
He doesn't. He doesn't. The Lord is like, please look at the world I have created. Go see it.
Go see it. Go stay in it. You know what I'm saying? Like the way that Americans, those that are privileged enough to take vacations, right? The way that we even quote enjoy our vacations a week at a time, a 3-day weekend, 3 nights, 4 days. That ain't shit. You're not going nowhere good. You're not getting to experience the culture, the people of wherever you go to, even if it is the lovely Bahamas for a quick weekend. You come on. No, give us free. Let me out of here.
Yeah.
You think people other places still want to come here?
Not no not
Now,
not
no.
not this week.
No, no, they're like for the next 4 years, don't go near that place.
It's like,
I've seen it on social media. I seen the Black British sister post a video. She said she and her family come to Florida every year. She said there's no way she's bringing her Black family to America right now because again, they even snatching up the euros, the white euros. They're talking about this German national that got snatched up coming back in from Luxembourg. They snatched him up in Rhode Island or Massachusetts somewhere. His family didn't know where he was until they found him in the hospital.
wow.
And listen, I understand. Look, the ability to move anywhere in this country, even to like move to another place to live, that takes resources that most of our people don't have. So I understand that I have a level of privilege in owning a home that I can rent in order to provide some income so I can, retire somewhere and don't have to be a greeter at Walmart when I'm 70. Right? I understand that is a level of privilege I have that other people don't have, because my mama bought this house, spent 10 years saving up for the down payment for this house, wanted this house. This was her dream house. She was finally able to purchase this house a year and a half before she died and left it to me. So that's how I got this house. So this house is a financial benefit that I have that most of our people don't have. I absolutely understand that most of our people are not in a situation to expatriate from this country. So I'm not sitting here saying because I am able to do it, everybody should do it. Come on now. I understand that I was one of those folks who needed to understand my class situation. Right. And understand that I had resources that a lot of our people don't have. And I'm able to do some things that our people cannot do, but I can never impose what I am able to do on the rest of our people. The solution for our people cannot be focused on what I, Jacqueline Lukman, am able to do.
But also keep in mind, though, guys, look at what our ancestors were able to do. People that were in literal bondage. Okay, like we can obviously make correct assessments about what our economic situation is, what we are and are not able to do financially. But our people literally had nothing. Okay. And they freed themselves. You understand? They hopped on boats. They planned mutinies. They organized uprisings and revolts and stuff. So like we got to get creative, okay? Because the ancestors did a whole lot more with a lot less. So I don't want us to limit ourselves about, well, we got to get creative out here. First thing you got to do is get your paperwork together, goddamn it. Make sure your documents is good. So in case you do have an opportunity to leave America, you can do so, right?
For mental health, Brittany Bobin says, how does y'all leave and help our people? Mental health, what Jackie just said, like being able to, well, that's
not how.
Well, I'm just saying, to be able to do some of this work, you need a little bit of mental health and maybe getting away somewhere outside. For me, I can see that. I can see me going to Barbados or something.
But it's a prison.
Well, hold on.
Like, you want to get out of prison? Like, doesn't? I mean, we all got to be locked up. You know what I'm saying?
Well, let me explain, because me leaving the United States is not just me going to Cancun. And I'm not trying to go to some resort so I can relax. No, the reason I chose Colombia is because in one of the cities in Colombia, I have comrades there who are organizing with the people in Colombia, who are organizing against imperialism and are participating in solidarity with the struggles we are having here. And the same thing is happening in Nicaragua, in Blue Fields. Same thing is happening in Cuba. Same thing is happening in the AES. We have plenty of places that we can go and continue this struggle and take better care of ourselves. So my purpose for leaving is not just so I can relax.
Yeah, nah.
No, my purpose for leaving is so that I Jacqueline Lukman, can actually live a really good, healthy, decent life where I'm not stressed out about a lot of other kind of material things that drive me nuts when I'm here, so that I can focus more on the organizing, that I am choosing a specific place to go to so that I can do. That's how me personally leaving will help everybody else. I'm not gonna expatriate from the US and disappear and be sitting in Paris having tea and bread.
Crumpets.
Yeah,
Some
well,
biscuits.
that's England. Yeah,
Biscuits and crumpets.
that's the word I was looking for. Tea and croissant. No, I'm gonna be in some place organizing with those people and bringing that knowledge back to our people here. That's right. That's what I'm talking about.
The work does not stop just because we moving. All right. With that said, we got a guest in the building, so let's go ahead and take a break and get back to it. I had to block somebody in the chat room. Let me tell you something. When you do all caps, sometimes you might get blocked because you're seeking attention.
What was the all caps saying?
They was just talking. They was talking about y'all.
It was silly.
I just had to get rid of it.
Oh, but let the haters shine.
I tried to. I usually do, but this one, it was just like these black about whatever.
Oh wow, they was going like that. See, chat now. Now I point the finger at the chat because Ear Doctor shouldn't have to be cleaning up that kind of trash.
Well, we don't have a mod right now. What's the name? We don't have a moderator right now, so I have to handle it. It's all good.
But they supposed to bully this person into shutting the fuck up is what I'm saying. I mean, I'm not saying to moderate them. I'm saying they need to be bullying this person into shutting the fuck up.
Oh, you know God Crew was. You know God Crew was. So
shout out to God Crew. That's what I'm talking about. See.
All right, well, let's take a break and we're going to come back. We got a special guest and right here, right now on the Remix Morning Show. Let's go.
Hey.
Y'all, welcome to the Remix Morning Show as we give you a bit of wrath of our madness, everything going on in this crazy place. What I wanted to do is I wanted to give a quick, it's Women's History Month. I'm actually getting ready to DJ a women's history event tomorrow. I don't got the flyer, but maybe I'll put it up tomorrow. But anyway, I did have the costume that Kim says she's going to disguise as. She says she's going to disguise and start doing some things. So big up to the Hamburglar. What I wanted to talk about today was a sister that goes by, I had a question about this sister, Mary Jane McLeod Bethune. Yes, she's an educator, philanthropist, humanitarian womanist, and civil rights activist. Founded the National Council of Negro Women in 1935. Also was a journalist, including the National Association for Colored Women, appointed by Franklin Roosevelt, secretary to lead the National Youth Association, and the first black woman appointed to lead a federal agency. She was like 15th of the 17 kids her parents had, but you might also know her for all types of schools all around the place, like Bethune-Cookman University. She got named, a lot of schools from all over was named after this sister, even got a statue in D.C. of her. So she did a lot. What I was wondering is, was she an enemy of the state or was she for the black people? Because she got in there and she did a lot working with the government. She got a lot of honors and everything. And I was just wondering, she was the only black woman founding the United Nations in San Francisco. And she was with W.E. Du Bois when that happened. She became the first woman to receive a National Order of Honor and Merit, Haiti's highest award. I mean, she's done so many things and got so many awards. But you're wondering sometimes when you get into these positions, are they using you to work with the black people, Or is it that time when, okay, we got one of ours in there and now we're able to make some changes? I just brought her up because it is Women's History Month and she's always named. She has so many different things named after her. So I was just wondering and asking the question. So we got our esteemed team about to come back in, and I'm sure they can give us their thoughts also. All right, with that said, let's get back to it and also bring in our guests while we do it right here on the Remix Morning Show.
So it's interesting that he didn't come back because I want him to say her name. There he is. What her name is? What her name is? Say
Mary
it again. What her
McLeod
What?
Bethune. Mary McLeod Bethune.
Why
What?
is it anytime you start talking about elders, you start sounding like Maya Angelou? Like,
I
why
know.
Maya Angelou
Maya
accent
Angelou
back
when
on?
she just woke
Listen,
up before
beloved,
she had her
we will
coffee.
not talk of Maya Angelou that way.
Mary
What's up, bro?
McLeod Bethune.
You got it, brother. You
Lord,
got it.
But I was
But I'm
wondering
glad.
that
I'm
it's,
glad you raised that question. That was a very important question to
thank you.
raise. And
go
and
ahead.
and just before we even get into it, just to address it just for a moment, you know, in the 1930s and 1940s, there was a lot of struggle within the U.S. state. It wasn't as cut. It wasn't black and white as it is today in terms of the nature of the U.S. state. It was always a capitalist, racist state, of course. But because of the contradictions of the 1930s with the depression, with the consolidation of a very powerful left in the U.S., we found that there were a number of radicals, progressive people who were up in the state and in agencies, associations connected to the state. And this sister was one of the ones who were part of that process. She ended up in San Francisco in 1945 with Du Bois because of the fact that the U.S. state was involved in developing this new formation called the United Nations. And Black radicals recognized that this could be a space in which we could confront issues of racial oppression in the U.S. And colonialism abroad. And so they muscled their way into this delegation, the official U.S. delegation, ending up in San Francisco with the objective, the mandate to complete the process of formulating the United Nations. So she's a real sister. It's not, she wasn't a Negro like many of the Negroes we find today who find themselves on the side of or up in the U.S. state.
Yeah, because I always hear, like, I'm always like, once you get in there, it seems like we always say, most revolutionaries don't last once they get in there because they wind up getting taken over. So I was just like, I wonder what people thought about her. So big up, big up. Let me get out of here so y'all can chat that chat.
All right. Well, as you see, our guest, Ajamu Baraka, is here. And, Ajamu, we are in a very interesting time, the time fraught with a lot of tension, a lot of fear, a lot of. But we're having a hard time having a collective response to this because of some serious internal contradictions that we've been talking about for a while that I think are coming to the fore right now, and we need to bring one of them to the fore, and that's why you're here today. So what is it that we need to confront right now to get on the right track?
First, let me do a shout out to Sister Kim. I'm glad that I finally have a chance to be on the same show with her. I came on because basically, I think that the piece that you put out today in Black Agenda Report is timely because it does address the issues we have, or some of the issues we have to deal with internally at this very, very critical moment in history. We have a movement that has gotten more traction than it should, but logically is understandable in the sense that this rightist trajectory of Black politics toward a positions that are objectively pro quote pro quote American, pro-imperialist, and as you point out in your piece, objectively white supremacist. This is the logical conclusion, if you will, of a more than 50-year counter-revolutionary process in the United States of America. And the objective of that process was, in fact, to create Americans, to create quote unquote Black Americans who would have a perspective, a view, a value system that mirrored that of the enemy, basically. And so, with the consolidation of that process under Barack Obama, it was really inevitable that you have a group of people who would embrace the flag of the state, the colonial flag of this United States of America, who would make proclamations like they were willing to go all the way down with the U.S. rulers, who would take positions that would be opposed to other African people and other colonized people, who would advocate things like snitching to ICE on migrants and immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. And I think we tried to ignore this for a while, but it's gotten to a point now where basically time out for it. We basically need to address this and deal with it forthrightly. And so your piece, I think, is timely. And I'm glad I have an opportunity just for a few minutes to talk about that, because we're not going to allow you to be out there on a limb on this, Comrade Jackie. You know, some of us have dealt with these folks. I know that I've been in the crosshairs of them for a while because we've been dealing with them, but it's been in isolation. I think now we need to go ahead and just fight this thing out, because, you know, the white supremacists are clear. They are prepared to do whatever is necessary to maintain white supremacy. And that means they are waging class and national war on us. And we've got to strengthen ourselves internally. And when you have a group of confused, what I call super ignorant Negroes that are advocating politics that are undermining our ability to resist, not only to advance our forces, but to even survive and resist, they've got to be taken on directly. And that's why I think your piece is so fundamentally important.
You know, I really feel like this whole phenomenon with ADOS and FBA, because, you know, I feel like I always have to enter into these conversations with a caveat. Like, I don't hate these people. Like, I'm not picking on ADOS, FBA. There are some serious contradictions and problems with their ideology that are dangerous. And if people don't know me by now, I don't write anything unless I really know this is a problem. So I get it. People have their feelings about ADOS and FBA and all that kind of stuff. But if you haven't confronted the contradictions in this movement that you believe in, then that's a problem that you need to confront also. If you are a proponent of these folks and have not been honest about their really messed up ideology, their right-leaning stance on immigration, and their flat out hatred and disrespect of the history of struggle that they basically said doesn't exist, and they're the only ones who have pushed forward this struggle for reparations. But I think, Jamu, the thing that has bothered me so much about this movement is their virulent hatred of Africans and Africa and being considered African, and the way the logic they use to disconnect themselves from Africa. How do you respond to that the fact that they have decided to take the struggle for reparations, which we've been engaged in since we've been here, since before the Freedmen's Bureau was ever even thought of. Our ancestors were like, yeah, look, 40 acres and a mule. Give us some land and leave us alone. That is literally what those folks said. That led to General Sherman's Field Order Number 15. They asked the formerly enslaved folks what they wanted, what they could be given to help them, and the leaders they chose said, give us some land and leave us alone. We don't want to live around white people. Y'all done enough. Leave us be. That's where Sherman's Field Order Number 15 came from. So how do we get from people who understood that our ancestors were trafficked from Africa, therefore we are African, to these folks saying we can get reparations if we disconnect ourselves from our African ancestry and declare ourselves just American?
Well, what in attempting to try to disconnect oneself from one's roots is not only ahistorical, but it's kind of psychotic. But it's understandable in the sense that these folks, and I tell them quite frankly, I mean, they are white supremacists. They see the world through the lenses of whiteness, basically, even though they may be black. But again, that's the result of a process. And as you said, we don't hate these folks. We understand that process. We understand the process of mass education in a colonial capitalist system. Is geared not to create free people, but is geared to create, in essence, slaves. And basically, that's the process of radicalization that we're involved in with these kinds of programs, with our organizing, trying to win as many of our people back away from psychosis and disconnection from reality, back to our people, back to our struggle, back to the defending the dignity of African people and the dignity of all colonized people and the dignity of humanity. And believing that we, in fact, can engage in that struggle and win that struggle, okay? That we're not about just begging the enemy, begging the very forces that created the conditions that we have to deal with, begging them to basically, quote unquote, repair us, because they can't do that. There's nothing they can do to repair us. The way you want reparations, where we're going to win reparations, if you will, is when we defeat the enemy, when we fight and overthrow this backward colonial capitalist state, okay? So we remind people of the relationship we have to the state by suggesting that there is this long relationship of exploitation and oppression, and that if there were people of conscience among these European elements, they will at least attempt to do something to repair some of the harm that we have experienced. But I'm gonna tell you, I speak on my own self, my own behalf. I never believed, not for a moment, that the representatives of this state would ever do right in that sense to African people or the indigenous here in what we call the United States of America. Not for a moment. Okay, so it was another instrument we used to build radical consciousness. Okay, but these people actually, and for some reasons, well, they believe because they don't have any historical perspective and no theoretical understanding how the world operates. They actually believe that these folks are going to, at some point, provide some money, give me my check, and it's not going to happen, comrades and Africans. It's not going to happen because basically, even if you thought that, I think Gaza has changed everything. Mm. Gaza has exposed the real nature of the collective West. These folks, if they can rationalize and justify a ongoing genocide where they are burning people to death, torturing people, bombing people, if they can do that with aggression in terms of taking a moral stance to justify that, where is the conscience that's going to allow them to turn around and give you Negroes some reparations? It's not going to happen. And so for us to be putting all this energy into this, people making the argument that the primary political objective of African people in the U.S. is reparations is absolutely ridiculous and is politically backwards. Okay, so having to deal with this is now a contradiction that was at one point we might call non-antagonistic to one that's antagonistic. Therefore, it's a secondary contradiction that now we have to deal with. Okay, because we got too many people who are falling prey to this and taking up positions that are fundamentally immoral. Where in our history have we ever had African people who would make the claim that the sufferings of a oppressed and violated people like the Palestinians by the U.S. state that they identify with has nothing to do with them?
Hmm.
When did we become that immoral? And so I'm saying this movement is not only backward, it is beyond the bounds of I hate, people will call it essentialism, beyond the bounds of blackness. These people are not black. This has nothing to do with us. Basically, these people have allowed themselves to become Frankensteins, the creation of a white supremacist a monster that have made them, in essence, in some ways, freaks. So this is something that it has to be dealt with because, it is not only embarrassing. We're not concerned about being embarrassed, but it is really undermining the morality of our people, undermining our ability to not only resist, but undermining our ability to imagine a new world and to keep ourselves connected to our fundamental humanity.
Shamu, how much value do you place in trying to deprogram Black people in America out of patriotism and being patriotic, like in the ways that presents itself in the ADOS movement with these Black folks in their American flag emojis, and even on some level, I understand the fight for reparations, but ultimately, their argument for reparations is undergirded by the fact that you think America's going to do right by us, right? Okay. so there's that, but it even shows itself in our folks that are loyal Democrats, right? That are offended at what Trump is doing to the government, or even during Trump's first term, when there was attacks, he was going against the FBI. And I remember some of our folks were like, can you believe Trump is attacking the FBI? I said, when did Negroes care about the well-being of the FBI and its agents? But is there value in still trying to tell our people, like, you need to absolve yourself of this American dream that is in fact an American nightmare, and it's ahistorical for us, or for any Black people in this country, to still want to play patriot or assimilate. Like, even when we were fighting on behalf of the patriots during the Revolutionary War, Black people were rewarded. Oh, y'all get to go back to slavery. Congratulations. Thanks for fighting for our freedom. You know what I mean? So why do we still have to convince our folks that America's fight is not our fight?
Because it's our responsibility as revolutionaries to win our people, as many of our people as possible back to our people. And the way we have to do that is, in fact, with these processes of collective learning, of engaging our people with counter information, with a different kind of perspective, with a counter ideological framework. So we have to remind people of what happened when we marched off in World War I to fight in Europe in the first imperialist war. And when we came back, and Africans were proud that they had won off and fought, and they had their uniforms on, and they started going back to the South. And what happens? They start getting pulled off of trains and murdered. When they went back to their communities, when they made it back to their communities, they ended up being targeted by the same white folks who they thought they were going to be defending, and that would be appreciative of the sacrifices. And the same thing happened at the end of the Second World War, not to the extent of the first one, but the same kind of attempt to try to put Black folks back in their places. African men who had come back from Europe, who had who understood that a human being is a human being, and in the process of conducting war, had killed other Europeans, and came back, and they were not going to allow themselves to be intimidated and murdered by white folks again, and they became a threat to the status quo. So we have to counter with a counter history. We have a different historical experience here in this country, and different interests, and so we have to struggle. We have to struggle because, look, think about it. Everybody who might count themselves today as a radical or revolutionary, they came from that kind of understanding of the U.S. Many of them were, and many people were patriots. Okay, many people believed in the possibility of what this country could be absent racism and exploitation. Okay, so the process of becoming radicalized to the point where one understands that without systemic change, it's not going to happen. That's a process, and that's the process that revolutionaries take on. That's our task, and that's why we don't ridicule people. We don't talk down to folks who may not be at a certain level of understanding. We have to remind ourselves of our long journeys also, and that's how we win people back. Okay, but we have no other choice because we don't have the ability to engage in mass education.
Mm.
We don't control the mass media. So these messages that end up creating our people as patriots, it's all embracing. It's all encompassing. So we have to do what we can do to try to win as many people over as we can. And the conditions as they worsen will help people to understand that basically, if you have any belief that we're going to be able to reform our way to liberation, the objective conditions should suggest otherwise. So we have no other choice, Comrade Kim.
Now, Jamal, I'm wondering about this, having this struggle in our pursuit of people's power, right? Why is this struggle important? Why, like somebody in the chat asked a little bit earlier, why can't we just leave these people alone? Why can't we just leave them alone to do what they do and be off in their little corner, believing what they believe, and calling children born to immigrants here tether babies, and calling people whose parent or adults who has one parent who is an immigrant, calling them tethers, calling African immigrants tethers to like, why can't we just leave these people alone and let them go be and go and do and say whatever they want to do, and then just organize for power ourselves? Why can we not do that?
We can't do it because basically they're now being used by the enemy to undermine our ability to in fact win people over to sanity, to win people over the struggle. They're being used to undermine the process of African unity and anti-colonial unity. So we tried to ignore them for a while, but this social media thing is a very powerful tool. And the backwardness of their messaging can be attractive for people who don't have any historical understanding of this country and the world. So basically, if you make the argument that we have a particular kind of identity that we need to protect here in this country, it might sound attractive. If you suggest that you have these immigrants who are coming here undermining your ability to make a living, that they are taking the wealth that we help to produce for the uninitiated, for the people with a lower level of political development and understanding, it could be attractive, okay? And that is why we have to confront these things with counter information, for counter perspectives, because it's so backward. It could be attractive to the extent that we have the same kind of phenomena that we see with white folks on the other side, where you have millions of white folks identifying with the interests and perspectives of a white oligarchy. So we don't want the same thing to be happening, even though it's happening. We got Africans and Latinos who are giving their votes to, and not only to the Trumpian forces, but continue to give their vote and support to these white supremacists, these neoliberal capitalists that run the Democrat Party. So this process of having to struggle through this the fog of ignorance is again another one of the tasks we have to take on, and we had no other choice but in fact to do that. But the fact that we can do that and win people, uh, why is that happening? It's happening because we have a perspective that when you cut through the BS, people can see and understand it to be objectively truthful, you know. And so we do that, and we continue to do that because the conditions are going to begin to shift in such a way where our persistence, our in terms of holding up our values and perspectives, will win even more people over to our ranks.
For people that I'm kind of the language that Jackie repeated, that some of our, or the ADOS or the FBA folks, when they're discussing migrants or people coming to this country as tethers or anchored babies, or a lot of people, not a lot, I don't know how many to be honest, but some folks, they don't see the similarities in the struggle between Black people born here and migrants coming here trying to eke out a survival, or even make a connection to the ways that the US empire has affected conditions where these people originate from, that have even brought them here to begin with. And we hear some Black folks talk about, well, whatever they're doing with the Latinos, that's not our community. They don't like us anyway. I can't worry about what's going on in Palestine. The Arabs, they don't like us anyway. They anti-Black. And there are some legitimate concerns there about anti-Blackness coming from other communities who now find themselves on the same end, or maybe even a worse end in which Black folks find ourselves. So how can we get Black folks that see themselves as American, that their mentality is that they are indeed American, but how can we get them to see our struggles and the struggles of these other peoples, without treating them like Americans do treat folks that come here trying to do better?
Yeah, but that's all part of that process we have to engage in terms of helping people to understand how the world is actually organized. For people to understand that one of the reasons why we have this push and this pull to the US is because of what capital is engaged in those countries, destroying economies, making people basically economically superfluous. So it's a process of having people to understand that this is one system. Even though you can be physically within the boundaries of the United States of America, the system that we are being subjected to, that is exploiting and oppressing us, is the same system that's exploiting and oppressing African people and other non-European people around the world. That's why Malcolm says you can't understand Mississippi unless you understand the Congo, and you can't understand the Congo unless you understand Mississippi. It wasn't just the issue of race, it's the issue of the system, a world system of exploitation. So basically, we say we have common interests, and we need to understand what those common interests are. The main common interest we have is basically to defeat this system that's exploiting all of us. And so that becomes the analysis, becomes the potential basis for solidarity also. But again, it's a struggle because it can be very attractive. When we were migrating from the South to the North in the latter part of the 19th century and then the early 20th century, that migration was also being motivated by and supported by the industrialists in the North, who wanted to have Black labor to do what? To undermine the labor up in the North, which is primarily at that point white. Okay, so so white labor and Black labor is struggling against each other, and who's been benefited besides the white capitalist owners? Okay, there's more complex than that, but basically, this is what we have to deal with. See, the ADOS people, they're idealists. They don't understand the world in that sense. So they think that what motivates policies are based on people's psychology. We have to keep on bringing people back to material reality, looking at material interests. That basically, if you're a white worker, you have nothing, or a Black worker, you have nothing in common with the Trumpian forces. You have nothing in common with the oligarchy. Okay. Same thing with the Democrats. You have nothing in common. These people are opposed to your interests. You have nothing. There should be no motivation for you to go off and march around the world and shedding your blood for rapacious ruling class that is only going to be the ones to benefit from that. So this is the process we've got to engage in, folks. I know it's rough, but we have to do it. And it may even sound abstract. But when we have a chance to be connected with our people and engage in collective learning, that's when we win people back to struggle. And we had no other choice but to do it, as difficult as it is.
Absolutely. I know you
And
have.
that's why, let me just say this.
Uh-oh.
That's why this piece that Jackie wrote is so vitally important. We didn't touch the surface of it yet.
Yeah.
So I really strongly encourage everybody to go back and take a look at this, because it's not just some kind of screech against ADOS and FBA. It's a well written, it's a developed analysis of where they're coming from and the political implications. And so we encourage people to not only read that, but if you're in social media, we need to defend the comrade, and it's time to take these folks down. We don't want to do that, Africans, but we have no other choice. This movement has to be basically destroyed.
Mm. Well, Jamila, I know that you have to jump because you got a whole bunch of other stuff going on. I appreciate you coming on and giving a little bit of context to this particular struggle and topic, because it is not, like you said, we tried to ignore them for quite some time, and we see what that got us. So now we have to confront this contradiction, and we need to understand why we're having to confront this contradiction. So thank you so much for coming on and
we say
shaping this.
No compromise, no retreat.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, make sure y'all hit that like button, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Go to patreon.com, become a member over there, get footage that's rare. And you can donate at blkliberationmedia.org. Donate because we are demonetized, and they said, yo, they ain't messing with us. So we need y'all to mess with us. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and take you to a nice little commercial here. Commercial break before we get back to our sisters on the screen for Women's Wednesday. Let's take you here. Check this out.
I feel so terrible.
Papa, what's wrong?
I don't know. I feel old. I feel like I'm losing my melanin. My hair is getting grayer. I don't know what to do.
Guess what? You should try Community Sea Moss.
Community sea moss? Why should I try that?
Well, it really improves your overall look and well-being.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Wildcraft Super Sea Moss, natural, vegan, gluten-free, and organic.
Oh, that's good. Wait, my melanin is back. I have locks? I don't even need these glasses anymore. This thing really works.
I know, right? You should get Community Sea Moss.
Wildcrafted Community Sea Moss.
They should have never gave y'all cameras. Anyway, let's go ahead and get back to it right here on the Remix Morning Show.
Now, ear doctor.
Yes, ma'am.
As a member of the ADOS movement, I just have to ask you, sir. I'm just kidding. You're not ADOS. But here's a question, Jackie. Like, where do you find these ADOS Negroes aside from like online and in the comment section, aka the cesspools? Like, if you're actually trying to, if you were really interested in dialoguing and struggling to free these wayward brothers and sisters, like, where do you find them that's not online, that your mentions aren't going to be swarmed by bots with American flag emojis in their handles? You know what I mean? Like, where do they?
That's going to happen. It's going to happen because they're very much like, one of the first things I noticed about them when they first emerged. And again, I've told this story several times and people didn't believe me. Abdus and I watched that movement be born. We watched the show where Yvette Carnell, her YouTube show was called Breaking Brown. And we used to watch her show regularly because she, pretty good. She was a journalist and all this kind of stuff. We watched that show where she was talking about reparations, and this was under the first Trump administration, and she pulls out a Trump hat, a Make America Great Again hat, puts it on her head, and said that America has to make us whole. Trump has to treat us like we're white, and draped an American flag around her. Yes,
Looks
we
like
saw.
you barfed in your mouth.
And me and Abdus and Brewski are sitting on the bed, like even the dog was like, "What?"
You looking like the fuck?
Oh.
What she just say?
So we watched it happen, and people were, they were like, "What is up with that? What is up with the Trump hat?" And she apologized for, okay, maybe I went too far, but that's where it came from. That's where that then I noticed as people started to agree with them with their anti-immigrant, because then they started talking about immigrants after that. Then it wasn't just the US government needs to deal with reparations and pay us reparations and all this kind of stuff. Then it became, and you know what? These immigrants coming over here taking our jobs, saying the same crap. I'm trying not to cuss as much, saying the same crap as Republicans had been saying. And immediately when I saw that, I'm thinking, this is bad. How are you going to demonize people? First of all, the same way that the Klan. How are you going to say the same thing about non-white people that are kicked in the behind just like you are? How are you going to say the same thing about them that the Klan says about you and them? That's crazy. And then when you try to engage these folks, and I noticed a lot of these folks were very young, like college age, kind of very young. And I gave folks a lot of latitude for just not knowing a lot of stuff. And that's fine, not knowing. But I noticed that they responded to constructive criticism the same way right-wing folks online respond when you disagree with them. The same way incels respond when you disagree with them. The same way, the reactionaries respond. And I just I was like, there is something very wrong with this. Then the HR 40 hearing happened a few years ago. And then that's when it became, I think, a serious problem, because you had Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore. And I don't know that Tariq Nasheed was involved or as prevalent at that time, during the time of that HR 40 hearing a few years ago. But I absolutely remember Carnell and Moore and their supporters saying that they should have been invited to testify because nobody else did anything about reparations until ADOS brought it up. They started saying that, then it's when I start hearing things about, Marcus Garvey won't shit because he was an immigrant. Malcolm, he was a tether baby because his mama was from Barbados or whatever. Then this is when I start hearing about, tethers and them talking crazy.
It's reprehensible language.
Black immigrants in particular saying the same kind of crazy stuff, like, oh, they come here with all this money. And it's the same silly, ignorant, lack of information having stuff that the right and the corporate media puts out about immigrants. That, like, people don't know that most immigrants who come to this country are poor. Most of the people there are very few people who come to the country who immigrate to this country the quote unquote right way, because it's expensive to. It is prohibitively expensive to file all that paperwork and do all of this stuff to immigrate here the right way. And most people who come to this country at the so-called southern border are forced to come here because of US and Western imperialism in their countries. They didn't save up money to get a lawyer and fill out paperwork and go to the hearings and no, they had to run for their lives from their countries. And we're never told that. So most of the Asian immigrants who are here, they were here because of the Vietnam War, because of the Korean War, because of the wars in Southeast Asia. And most of those people are poor. The Haitian immigrants, Caribbean immigrants, most are poor. Yes, there are some immigrants who come here who are able to save their money, but it's not most. And we don't know that because we are deeply indoctrinated. So I didn't at first, I did not blame ADOS folks for not knowing this, for believing these lies, because we've all believed these lies, haven't we? When we heard them, until we learn different. So we're trying to engage with folks. And if you remember, we tried to engage with folks on this platform. Remember that first, like the very first debate that we had on on when it was called The Other Thing. We had a big old ADOS debate that I was like, please don't do this. But people felt like they had to do it. And it was ridiculous. So then we all got to see how undisciplined, unprincipled, and absolutely nasty these people are, these ADOS folks are. So yes, they are online, but now I'm over here in Southeast DC. I saw ADOS FBA rhetoric on one of the vendors at the mall down the street. He has a sign up. He's got his truck. He's selling his oils and t-shirts and stuff. And the next thing I know, he's got some ADOS propaganda up on his sign. Like, oh, so to go back and answer your question, you will find them everywhere. You will find them in places you do not expect. I did not expect to go to that hearing on Capitol Hill and see a bunch of folks who were in the room mad because Yvette Carnell was not one of the people who was called to testify. And then after the hearing, they are all on social media. And even during the hearing, because it was live streamed, they're all on the live stream talking mad smack about Ta-Nehisi Coates doesn't know anything about reparations. Now, his politics notwithstanding, that man did write an essay 10, 12 years ago about the case for reparations in the Atlantic that revived the conversation, not among us, but among white society. But they were pissed off that he was testifying. I can't, some other weirdo, some right-wing guy, black guy, who was against reparations. He testified, a couple other people, but Carnell would, and they were mad. And they made their rage known. And they were absolutely saying none of these people did anything for reparations. ADOS are the only people who are fighting for reparations, and you don't have us in the room. And so it became this campaign to crap on everybody else who's trying to tell them you all don't even have your history right. So they have gained much more traction than they should have been allowed to gain. They were able to gain that traction because of their connections with the right. We told people that Yvette Carnell was on the board of a right-wing anti-immigrant organization. People didn't care. Didn't care. And as a matter of fact, when it was exposed that she was on the board of that organization, she had to resign because she ain't tell nobody, but we found out. So this whole thing has been, from my perspective, maybe it didn't start out that way, but it became, and it is very clear to me now that this whole thing is a giant right-wing psyop. These people are being used to do exactly what they've done, to divide and fracture the Black left. And
you consider the ADOS folks on the left, because they strike me as right-wing conservative, right?
Look, I'm not saying that they're left. I'm saying that they are being used by the right. They don't consider themselves right-wing. They don't think they're right-wing.
Which is wild, because anybody that consider themselves to be an American patriot, I assume that you are definitely right-wing. If you
mean,
if you ally yourself with the U.S. and its interests to the exclusion as an African person or African descended person, to the exclusion of all other global, diasporatic black folks, then yeah, you are conservative, whether or not you think you are or not.
I mean, but these folks also don't have any kind of political understanding. That's not an overstatement. That's not an exaggeration. These people do not understand the nature of capitalism. They don't understand, the inherently exploitive and evil nature of capitalism. They do not understand the nature of imperialism and our relationship, or the relationship as it really exists, what it really is between the state and us. They really believe that they have some type of power to force the state to give reparations without any kind of grounding in political reality, in material realities, in ideological no ideological clarity. So politically, they don't have a political argument. They don't have a political stance. They think that what they're doing is politics, but they don't have any politics, which is why they're so easily able to adopt right-wing talking points and then present them to people who are traditionally not right-wing, and think that they are having a legitimate argument and advocating for those people. They don't see themselves as right-wing.
No, I when the ADOS people first started to pop up, I'm like, okay, I hear y'all. I hear you talking. And then as soon as they went into the xenophobic stuff, well, it should be only the American descendants of slavery only. And that don't mean people from the Caribbean. And that don't mean people from, I'm like, well, wait a minute. Everybody got deposited in this hemisphere via slavery. Why would we exclude any other black folks or people that were victimized by slavery? Oh, because it's the fact that these ADOS people see themselves as special blacks, and that's what I don't like. Like that shit gets my heckles up. I'm like, special blacks, eh? Keep y'all special black asses away from me.
I mean, I understand the thinking behind the movement. Oh, I absolutely understand, because when you look at our material conditions and you look at the fact that we have less wealth than we had right after slavery, like, come on, we have less during the Reconstruction era and a few years after. I think the formerly enslaved owned about 1% of the land in this country. We own less than that now, right? That's insane. The facts about the economic material conditions of Black people in this country, horrifying. And when you connect it to the legacy of white supremacy, settler colonialism, pan-Europeanism, and the violence, and degradation that comes with it, yes, it's enraging to understand that you live in a country that became obscenely wealthy off of the forced and exploited labor, torture, rape, and everything else, mass murder of groups of people. And they have held on to that money, and they have continued to steal from the same groups of people, right? And then the government that is stealing, the system that's stealing, continuing to steal the resources from this oppressed group of people, the same people who are continuing to do the stealing are telling you that you're lazy, that you're poor because you're lazy. You're poor because you ain't got no daddies in the house. You're poor because you buy Starbucks every day. You waste your money. You buy designer bags. You buy designer shoes. You're poor because it's you. Because you don't have the right values. You're not poor because these people who stole your people are still stealing from you. Do you understand?
But
That,
some
of
anger
course,
towards
and we all should be mad as hell about that. The problem is, instead of attacking the system that's doing it, These folks have decided to attack another group of people that the system is doing the same thing to, and claiming that it's those people that's the reason we don't have anything, instead of the system that's creating the problems that these other people are experiencing too. That's the problem here. And you cannot tell these folks, these ADOS FDA folks, that their anger, their justified and righteous anger and rage is misdirected at the wrong group of people. Their anger and rage needs to be turned on the system, not on the other victims of the system. You see what I mean?
There was a lot of videos at the end of the Biden term because, undocumented people were being shipped by the busload from the southern border up to cities like New York and Chicago. And I would see the videos from these town hall meetings or from, city council meetings, or people, just regular persons on the street, and they would be talking about the migrants. Look at how they taking our money. Eric Adams in New York State is giving the migrants like these wild rumors that undocumented immigrants were getting like $10,000 and being placed up in luxury hotels. I'm sure you heard all of that rhetoric. And some Black folks really had a lot of very bad things to say, terrible attitudes toward these undocumented people who literally just came off of a 30-hour bus ride from Texas up to Chicago, freezing their ass off, nowhere to go, unhoused, no money, don't speak the language, not being connected to resources. And I saw some Black people's anger being directed at those folks. And that shit just really broke my heart. Because it's like, us of all people, we should be able to recognize the struggles of others. But instead of, like you said, turning our anger and focus onto the system that placed these people here, we mad at them and talk and using the white folks rhetoric. Y'all need to go back to where y'all came from because we full. I saw so many Black people in Chicago talking about they full. New York City talk about they full. You need to send these migrants up out of here. But it's like, y'all, and go where? Where they going?
Hey, speaking of going back where we came from, we got about 2 more minutes left on this show. And it's a very good show today. Y'all hit a lot of different points. Women's Wednesday, as always, the bid on. What we got? The bid on. Yeah, bomb.
The bid got it.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's get to it. What we got coming up, Jackie?
Tomorrow, we will have Cloud O'Brien on to talk about her meeting with Evo Morales. Ooh.
Okay.
Caliente.
Big timers. I
Make
love
sure
it.
y'all there for that. And that's at 7:00, correct?
Huh?
What time is it at?
No, tomorrow on the remix.
Oh, okay, yeah. Make sure y'all come back here. Well, I forgot what day it was. I thought it was Thursday.
It's not Thursday. It's Wednesday.
I'm just trying to make it move. All right, and I guess we can let them know tomorrow for Classical Breakdown. Also after that at 11 a.m. we'll be doing Ladies of Hip Hop. So make sure y'all
better be some Oaktown 357 in there, Doctor. I'm just saying.
You know it.
357.
And then we got to talk about some of the first ladies to do scat and then hip hop. You know who that is? I'm from
Oh, that's JJ Fad.
That was it. Okay, Elon. What Elon talking about before we get out of here?
Real quick, Saturday, March 29, BAP DC's first teach-in of the season at Plymouth Congregational United Church of Christ, 5301 North Capitol Street, Northeast in Washington, D.C., where we will be talking about Arms of Empire, its connection to gentrification in D.C. And that is the day after BAP Baltimore's teach-in in Maryland at Payne Memorial Church. Go to BAP Baltimore and BAP DC on Instagram to check that out. We on the move, no compromise, no retreat.
All right. Speaking of that, let's do a little bit of something funny before we leave.
Real quick, y'all. If you're on Twitch, set your notifications. BIDWKB on Twitch. I'm gonna do a Kim's Twitch turn up later this afternoon.
All right. Make sure
come
y'all tune in for that. And look at the faces on this next video.
we weren't stolen from Africa by Europeans. West Africa had a burgeoning slave trade. We were traded to
Jared.
Europeans by other Africans that stole us
Look at
and
Camille.
defeated us in war. You see the apology from Ghana. You see the New York Times article, my great grandfather was a slave trader, right? And you even see some of the issues that Nigeria is going through right now with the Igbo tribe, with the
If y'all want to go check out that great debate, go dig into the archives and type in search bar ADOS and you will find it. All right. I'm a piece of work. All right, I'll catch y'all next time.
Bad man.